Hello and welcome. This is Slayron with the Fantasy Grounds Academy. Got a few things to point out that I wanted to help clear up some potential confusion. I have to admit, when I first checked this stuff out, I didn't know. So this is what I found so far. So for the feature that is now part of Fantasy Grounds, height indicator, that you use the Alt key and you use the mouse wheel. If you click on a token and then you hold down the Alt key and you move the mouse wheel, that actually will change the height. So if the creature moves up or down, adjust that accordingly. Also, when you are targeting or trying to figure out the distance between your person on the ground, let's say, and this dragon's up in the air. So first of all, I want to hold down the Alt key and target. What this does is it sets up the targeting between the assassin, in this case, and this dragon. So you need to hold down the control key. So now the dragon is targeted. Mouse over. We'll see the distance. Now this does make a difference if you have certain settings in the map tool for options. So if you go down to the options and you look at map diagonal distance, this will change the calculation. So if you don't have it on 1.5 or have it just on the standard, it changes the number depending on what you're. So in this case, I have 1 times 5, so that means diagonally distance is calculated 1.5 times. So if I move the token and you hover over, you can see that should update accordingly. So it depends on what you have these set at. And also, if you change that midstream, it's obviously going to affect it. So 75 feet. So it just depends on what's happening. But they are going to be fine-tuning this, so it really depends on what your needs are and also how these are calculated. So this will depend on what you have for this diagonal distance. So I'm going to take this token off, delete it, add it to the map, and now I'm going to target. So you have to make sure the token's claimed if you're the GM, and then target, set that up. So now when you're moving this around, it should technically keep track of the height, and it just depends on what you're. So it also depends on this. So the diagonal distance changes when you actually switch back and forth. So all right, so so it changes as you move the token. Now the other thing is there is a new death indicator. So when a creature reaches a death state, what will happen is you're not going to see a live update. So to make that clear, that this is not a live wound indicator. This is just a placeholder essentially for when someone dies, it will leave a blood splatter behind. So once the dragon, in this case, he's prone, unconscious. But once I leave him, once we don't need him anymore, he's dead. If I delete this, it's going to leave behind blood splatter. It doesn't update live like with wounds and stuff. So all it does is it just leaves this behind, gives you an idea of where that creature fell. When you actually want to clear that, bring up this drop-down toggle toolbar and clear death markers. There's a new icon up here that I missed before. You can actually clear this. So that's basically what the new functions are. And if you want to check the death markers out, you come over into the options, look by next to currencies under death markers. This is where you can set them, where you can change the colors. You have a few options on what type. So there's skull, round, and square. There's blood splatters of all different colors. and then there's tombstones. But if you want to make your own, if you come down to the very bottom, you can actually bring up this and build your own sets. I haven't figured out what the actual size of these assets are, but I'm going to find that out. I imagine they don't need to be too big. I would say that, you make a square and then maybe 300 by 300 or something maximum, depending on how much of visibility you need. And then maybe set the transparency a tiny bit down or something like that. But there's got to be a recommendation for these. Nonetheless, if you have your own assets, you can edit the list, you can remove all these and replace them, or you can create your own list. It's up to you. So you can drag and drop your assets from your assets in Fantasy Grounds and create your own list here. And you can essentially erase all of these, or you can mix and match or whatever. Just make sure that the title makes sense. So this would give you options for theming these types of indicators for your particular campaign. So if it's something you want to do for your particular campaign, you don't like the colors or the tombstones, or maybe they don't fit your setting or whatever, you can make it around. So that I didn't prepare any of this ahead of time. I didn't make any of these, but you just simply drag them in here and make sure you have a title for the name of your group, and then you can make that your default. When you actually go back into the markers, you can actually use a drop down to select which one you want, and you can have one set for each creature type. In this case, this is D&D type stuff, so you have aberrations, beasts, celestial constructs. So I'm not sure if this feature is available for every rule set, but nonetheless, this is just a way that you customize this. Just remember that the death indicator is really just a placeholder. It just basically keeps track of where the bad guys went down. So when you remove those off the combat tracker, it just leaves a little splatter behind. It's not like previous extensions that most people are used to, where it actually updates as the wounds are applied. So it's a completely different feature. That's what I thought it would be, but it's actually not. If you've played Savage Worlds or something, you'd be more familiar with that. But nonetheless, that's the functionality is not what most people would expect. So it's more or less just a place. It's a layer, a paint layer that draws itself out essentially on the map when your NPCs or PCs go down. And then when you remove them off the combat tracker, when you go to delete it, it actually leaves behind where they died. So I guess that's helpful in some cases if you want to know where the bad guys went down. Did you convert the new character yet? Did you? I didn't convert anything. I haven't tried it yet. I wasn't going to cover that, but if you guys wanted to, I think you might cover. No, I haven't covered it because I haven't even had a chance to use it. It is a new feature that been completely redone. I have seen previews of it, but if you go into characters and launch the character with, it's going to essentially give you a new look and feel. So it's completely different, rewrite. It kind of works the same, but it's been cleaned up and it's a lot less cumbersome when it comes to screen real estate. It seems like it's pretty straightforward. I haven't used it yet. I don't have the assets loaded. Like right now, I just have the SRD. But if you were going to build something, you could, I think it wouldn't take a whole lot if you pick your ability score increase, got a little more drop-down menus instead of double clicking and that sort of thing. So I haven't gone over this yet. I need to play around with it before I go over this, or really. But this is new. So this is another thing that could really change the game too. And if you go to the change race, you can come back and change these before you commit. Just remember, when you use a character wizard, make sure you have all your books loaded first. Try not to have it to where say, oh crap, I need to load Xanathar's guide. You get to do that. I'm going to do all that first, and then start building your character. And then do not hit the commit button until you're satisfied with all your changes and updates. Hit the commit button, and that will write the character as a new character sheet. And it gives me a warning here. It says I didn't select a class, my background, so that's kind of nice to have those. So that's a new feature. Yeah, it's better. Definitely a great change. But anyways, I'll do a separate video on character creation because I want to actually go through it, and I want to make sure it doesn't blow up in my face, and I want to make sure that I understand how it works. But I'm pretty sure I can figure it out. I just don't want to do it show. My main thing was to cover the height indicator, which is something that is dictated by the diagonal distance. So in the options, that will make a difference on how it calculates diagonal distance and such. And then also the depth markers, which can be customized, and its usage is that it's only a placeholder. So if something dies on the screen and you want to remove it from the combat tracker, it leaves behind a little blood splatter. That's what it does. It's not a live updater. And then if you want to clear the death markers, there's a shortcut up here that allows you to clear it, or you can unlock the map and do it manually through the layers and delete it that way. I'm glad that they indicated that, because I was going to say that this is very cumbersome if you have to go unlock the map just to clear those out. This is a nice feature. I'm glad they put that in there. I missed it the first time around. So anyhow, take care, everyone. You have a good weekend, and tomorrow's Friday for some of us, so take care, and I'll see you around, and hopefully this helps some of the confusion and misconceptions, because I really thought that the death indicator was going to be a live update and not so much a placeholder. So anyways, take care for everyone. Bye-bye.